I felt good during the whole process. I thought we were going to do fine.
All right, that was President Joe Biden reacting to Tuesday night's midterms. Let's get some thoughts now from our panel as we move into the runoff stage of 2022 and into 2024 even. We're here today with you, Indy political science professor Dr. Laura Wilson, 2016 vice chair for the Indiana Trump campaign, Tony Samuel, along with former communications director for the Indiana Democrats, Jennifer Wagner-Chartier, and former GOP lawmaker Mike Murphy. All right, Mike, I'll start with you. Last week you said it was going to be a Republican romp, but it wasn't really, at least not at the national level. What happened?
Well, first of all, I think I was wrong to some degree, which I know is unusual, but that's okay.
Pundits can be wrong.
Pundits can be wrong,
this
sure.
day and age. It happens.
We're supposed to take risks, but also it really comes down to the quality of candidates in both parties. And the quality candidates come down to quality leadership in the party to vet those candidates before they get on the ballot. That has not happened in the U.S. Senate. In fact, McConnell said himself, we have some pretty poor quality candidates in some states. Look at Georgia. Look at Arizona. Look at Nevada. There's just some bad candidates, and in Pennsylvania, some bad candidates. And so we rightfully lost, certainly in Pennsylvania is one good example. It is what it is.
We'll get into that in terms of former President Trump's influence at the national level here in just a minute. But Jennifer, I want to ask you conversely here, what happened at the state level where Indiana Democrats had a pretty disappointing night, really, overall?
Can I just keep talking about the national stage and how Mike was wrong, because that would be a much more favorable topic for me. Look, I mean, Indiana Democrats have a lot of work to do. I really had higher hopes for Destiny Wells' campaign. I thought we had such a wounded opponent in Diego Morales, but that didn't come to fruition.
There were some people who didn't vote for him. He ran behind the state ticket, but
yeah,
she ended up not really faring any better than the rest of the state.
Not enough. I will say, the first district, congressional district, turned out to be just fine. That was a pipe dream for Republicans, but overall, we've got some work to do. I agree with candidate recruitment, and I also think that we need to figure out which races are winnable for us and really devote all of our resources there in the future.
Tony, your response to that, what were your big takeaways Tuesday night?
Well, whether a red wave happened or not, or whether it was a smaller wave, folks still have to catch that wave. You still have to have resources. You have to have a good message to get out there. An example would be Cindy Crosco here in Marion County. It's a Democrat area. She didn't have the resources to get that message out there. But in other parts of the state it did. And in Indiana, as we're talking about Diego Morales, that 22-point victory by Todd Young carried Diego, with a 12-point or 14-point victory.
Some people have talked about straight party voting, too. Nikki Kelly had an op-ed in the Capitol Chronicle about that this week. Would Diego Morales have done as well without it? Conversely, would Ryan Mears have done as well without it in Marion County? We'll never know. Laura, of course, all of this now sets up the 2024 election cycle. Like, that starts immediately. It started a few days ago. What do Republicans and Democrats need to do now moving forward?
Well, I think certainly focusing on the issues, but being able to mobilize voters. If it was a disappointing election for either party at either level, it was a disappointing election for political scientists because voter turnout was lower than expected, and voters weren't engaged. They weren't excited in the same ways we thought they should be. Yeah, it's all about...
Turnout here was less than 2018.
Right, yeah. and I think that was, quite frankly, surprising and disappointing. But if the voters don't feel like the candidates are resonating with them, if the issues don't matter to them, right, both parties need to be able to connect those dots, and ultimately they're responsible for voters to get out there and to vote.
All right, as we talk about 2024 here, we're also talking about the race for president already here, Mike, as some Republicans look at the disappointing results and blame former President Trump for some of the, in your words, poor candidate quality. He had backed a number of those candidates. The former president may announce another run for president this coming week, though reportedly some have been trying to get him to delay that because of the Georgia runoff. Is he damaged politically by the midterm elections this past week? And does this give someone like Ron DeSantis or even Mike Pence more of an opening to run now?
Absolutely, absolutely, all three. First of all, he lost the vast majority of his proxy wars across the country and may still lose some that may be in recounts. The day after, he was blaming his wife, the poor lady, for backing Dr. Oz in Pennsylvania. Yeah. I've already forgotten his name. But he is damaged goods. This is the beginning of the death rattle of MAGA. That's all there is to it. So that does allow Pence to move forward, and it allows DeSantis to move forward. DeSantis announced in his victory speech on Tuesday night, he said, Florida is where woke comes to die. And I think that you'll see that repeated over and over again going into 2024.
And DeSantis had a big night. Tony, let me come to you on this next. What's your response to that? Does this hurt the former president potentially as he tries to seek the GOP nomination for a third straight election?
I don't think it hurts him. Here's why. The turnout was so low. What we saw in 2016, if you go back, and in 2020, were the Trump, the folks that came out that hadn't voted for decades. And they told Rex Early and I, when we traveled around the state, that they didn't trust the Washington politicians. They were waiting for somebody for Trump. Now, Trump can endorse whoever he wants to. A lot of folks don't really want to be told who to vote for, so endorsements don't matter as much as you might think, but he did have some big wins, like in Ohio with J.D. Vance and others. What I see is him running again, and that Trump voter that might not come out in an off-presidential year, they're still going to come out. He's still getting big lines at his rallies. That's going to continue.
It's going to be an interesting dynamic within the party, and Tony and Mike, you'll probably have different views on that will come to you for different perspectives on here over the next few months. Jennifer, what about President Biden? Are these results more of a vindication in some sense for him? Does this make his candidacy in 2024 more of a likelihood now in your view?
I absolutely think this was vindication for Joe Biden, and it was also a huge win for democracy, right? And all you heard Joe Biden talking about the last few months was like, come out and vote for democracy, vote to protect the institution of democracy, and voters did that. And I will say to Tony's point, yes, different voters, younger voters came out for Donald Trump 3 years ago, but guess what? The biggest winner on Tuesday night were these young voters, 18 to 35, who came out in droves for democracy, for the issue of reproductive rights. They are the next generation of voters, and I got to be honest, I don't think they're for Donald Trump.
Those issues seem to drive voter turnout in some states, not in others, like we mentioned, in terms of Indiana's voter turnout. Laura, we've seen some pretty unprecedented things here these last few years, and certainly this next election cycle could be pretty unusual as well.
I would expect that. We saw an increase in terms of campaign finance, even for a congressional midterm. A lot of expensive races. We talk about Ohio, Pennsylvania, Florida, Georgia. The Senate and gubernatorial races were really expensive. You see candidates using social media most of the time smarter and sometimes less
Sometimes
effectively.
not so much, yeah.
With a lot of different ways to try to mobilize voters and communicate their message, and I think we're going to see more of that in the future.
Hey, social media, Twitter, a whole nother topic in and of itself this week. We don't have time for that. Coming up next, though, conflicts of interest at the State House in a preview of our special report that you'll see right here next week.